Are we rolling tape?
You're rolling.
Hey, Jason, how you doing?
Doing good. How about you?
Well, like I tell everybody else from my age, I think I'm doing pretty damn good, and it changes every 2 seconds. You'll see. You laugh now. You're what, 30-something?
38.
38?
Yeah.
Yeah, laugh now. 67? It's just real. Oh, man. Hey, first of all, for the people that are out there, Jason is someone who I met, how long ago now?
I say a little over a year.
Year ago.
Yeah.
And the reason why I originally got out to you is because I was looking for somebody for sound.
Yeah.
Sound tech, which you are amazing. And so that was the original when we met. And then, of course, since then, you've become a client at our gym.
Yep.
At our training center. And I got to tell you, man, I mean, I got to know you quite well. And I've watched we talked about this one time on our show, but I've watched you just like, I don't know, you have changed. Your physical being has changed so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the thing about it is, I just wonder if you really realize it, because I don't know about you. I hardly ever see what other people see.
Mm-hmm.
Because maybe that's because I'm hard on myself. And I just wonder, do you really understand how much progress that you've made?
I think I'm like you. I don't realize it. And it's not until I look at like an old picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I tell them, you know what? One of the things that you should do is take photos. And it's hard for people to do that, especially when you're doing it when you're not in the shape that you want to be. Mm-hmm. It's intimidating to even see yourself on a photo, isn't it?
Oh, I fought it. I totally fought it. I didn't want to do it. And then eventually I was like, okay, yeah, here we go. I'm glad I did. And I do wish I did it sooner. So.
That's a common response, because it's the same thing for me. I look at that photo, the before, mm-hmm. I'm thinking, oh, hell no. But the crazy thing is even when I'm in really great shape, when I've been competing, I kind of had that same response. It's like, why don't I just, but when I do, we used to do photo shoots like after a competition. And what I learned about that is looking at a mirror all the time versus a photo over time is a huge difference.
Yeah.
And why is that? Because you go from subjective to objective. Mm-hmm. And I remember so many times I'd take these photo shoots and I think I have like 50 photos that I was going to pick from. And surprisingly, a lot of times the first photo that I was picking was not the one that I ended up using. Mm-hmm. It was, as I got more objective, it's like, wait a minute, I see this in a whole different way. So I'm assuming that's what's going on with you now, your photos. You see yourself, you see the real difference now.
Yeah. Now it's way more, I'm noticing things differently.
Yeah.
Because beforehand it was just size.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at my gut and seeing that getting smaller. And then you start to see muscle definition. And then it's like, oh, now it's developing that muscle.
Yeah.
And so I've been sensitive more to looking at that and I guess bodybuilding.
Yeah. Well, and we've talked about this before, is bodybuilding has a lot of different meanings.
Yeah.
For someone who has competed or versus somebody who's just trying to build their body back in a different way. Mm-hmm. And that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think you'll agree that it's a process.
Oh, yeah.
You've been coming in. The reason, when I talk about this all the time, I'm so frustrated as someone who's a coach, a trainer, whatever, to see when people start self-sabotaging their results, or they don't really they don't go that extra step to see how much difference you're going to make down the road if you just stay in the game. And mm-hmm. You've done that. You've been a beast that way. And the people that are watching this, that you're you're an inspiration to and should be to other people, because you've come a long way. I've seen a lot of people through my 40 years, and especially like this last, I don't know, you keep making ongoing progress, but this last, I don't know, month maybe, mm-hmm. I've just, all of a sudden it's just like things are coming together for you.
Yeah. That's good to hear. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah. But in all honesty, you've done the work. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't happen. And that's what we want. We want it to happen now and happen fast.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen, so it's a nice lesson. And I'm always, it makes me happy when I see people, make that transition and get to the point where I think, because you and I, obviously, we've had discussions at the gym, this is becoming something that is now more of a lifestyle. It's just something that you do, whether you have a toe ache, a headache, you want to cry before you just go in and do it anyway.
You're right. It's a total shift. I think on Saturday I was having stomach pain. I think I was having like a gallbladder thing, and I was in pain.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm still going to go to the gym.
Yeah.
Because I was like, maybe I can work it out.
Yeah.
I fooled myself, but I still went to the gym because it's just what I do now.
There you go. And that internal debate, when you're first doing that and getting used to developing a daily habit and making it a lifestyle ritual, you have that in the beginning, you have internal debates that sometimes win, and you go, okay, I'm just not going to go today. I'll make it up tomorrow. And then down the road, then that dialogue actually changes. It's like, I don't feel like going, but I'm going to go anyway, and just shut up, Leo. Just go do it.
Yeah, that's where it's at.
Always feel better.
Yeah.
Because it's like I overcame something,
Yeah.
I mean, we're our own worst enemies.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And overcoming yourself is a big deal.
Yeah. No, my biggest fear has been to let myself down.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot that goes with that.
Yeah.
So I just focus on when I don't feel like going, I have to do it because I don't want the consequences of what happens after that in my own head. Because then, like you said, it's an excuse you will start to use more.
Yeah. And you'll get to the point, you just said something, because it reminds me of when I was cigarette smoking and when I was quitting early on. My fear was one thing was going to trigger me. But the further I got away from smoking, like the more you are in this and you get confidence to the point where you can change your body at will. When you get to that part, that way, that fear that you're feeling, it's going to look different. You won't have that, because I understand that. It's like I was fearful. I was afraid.
Yeah.
But I got to the point when I got far enough away from cigarettes. In other words, developing that discipline that I didn't need that during the times I went to the restroom or after dinner. There are times that triggered me to smoke. And once I got past that, all of a sudden it was like, then I started thinking, I can't believe that I was smoking.
Yeah.
Why was I doing that to myself? It almost seems like I was a real idiot, like I was trying to kill myself. Now I'm at a point now where that's the furthest thing from what I would ever want to do is put another cigarette in my mouth. But yet at one time I would go, if I threw a pack of cigarettes away, I'd go look for the pack. I say, okay, I'm done now. I would be looking for that pack of cigarettes because I was that addicted.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah.
So I know what you mean. That mental state like that is scary.
Yeah.
But that's also part of the fuel that you're using to keep you going.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's useful.
That fear of ever going back to what I was is huge. So I'll use that trauma to help me move forward in the direction I want. So
definitely.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to chat, this morning with you. You're looking good, baby. Keep it up. Anyway, okay. Hey, welcome to Straight Talk. Today I'm going to talk about just random thoughts. As a trainer and a coach for the last 40 years, I got to tell you, I'm passionate about what I do. There's no question about that. And with that being said, one of the things I think that's going to be really important for those of you that are out there that are trying to achieve anything that's remarkable, you're going to have to be obsessed. And I know that in some ways, and some people will look at that and say, well, obsessed. Yeah. You have to be a little maniacal about the things that you're trying to accomplish, whether it's weight loss or muscle gain, whatever the goal is. If you're obsessed, I think that you have already some of a component that's necessary for you to achieve remarkable success. You have to be passionate. And because otherwise, when you start, you're on a program where you're, losing weight or trying to put out anything that you're doing to transform yourself on a special diet, in the beginning, I call it the honeymoon phase, and we all have that. And the real success of what you do is when you get past that honeymoon phase. And discipline is absolutely something that's necessary, and that has to be earned. You have to earn that. And if you're not willing to do that, and I mean unwavering, you have to earn that. Now, does that mean that you won't slip and fall on your journey to whatever goal that you're trying to reach? No. Failing is part of the process. It's what you do when you fail. Are you that person that when like, for example, if you stop going to the gym one day, the next thing you know, you've been out of the gym for 30 days? A lot of people are like that. But it's the thing that you have to do. Remember this, for those of you who are trying to, create some kind of a regimen, is when, not if, but when you slip, you get right back on the wagon. Okay. It's like my dad used to say when I was breaking horses when I was in college. The most important thing is when you get bucked off the horse, get right back on the horse and you overcome what fear that you might have, because the further away that you are from doing that, then all of a sudden you go back into your bad habits, or you won't get back on that horse because you're afraid. You can't do that. So it's what you do after you slip. Just get right back on it. It's not that easy. You're going to have to learn how to be successful through your failure. So keep that in mind. But I do think that you have to be obsessed and you have to have passion to pull you through, because that just keeps you going no matter what. Jason and I were just talking about that, going to the gym and, doing your routine even when you don't feel like it. I don't give a damn what's going on with me. I go to the gym, and you have to get to that mindset. So anyway, I wanted to talk about that, but like I said, as somebody who's been doing this for 40 years, I'm obsessed about my clients that I work with. As a coach, I don't do a lot of personal training now, but as a coach and maybe even a mentor to some, is I'm still interested in, helping people become a better version of themselves. But ultimately, I want them to, I'll get them started and I want to be there for them. But at some point, they have to fly on their own. But it always, so I'm always bothered when people do give up on themselves. It's very disheartening for me. And I guess the reason why I feel that way is because I'm obsessed and I have passion for what I do still to this day, not only for myself, but for other people. So we're going to be talking about different things like that today. I just got back from a trip. I don't know if any of you saw my post that I put up over the 4 days that I was gone. But I was gone to Montana, and I got to tell you something about Montana. If you guys haven't been there, go there. It's an amazing place to be. I was very surprised. I'm not necessarily a mountain guy because it was 5 inches of snow there. We went there to see Yellowstone Park. It's an amazing place to go. But I was talking on my post every day about traveling, training, and making sure that you learn how to travel and still maintain your training and your nutrition. It's a tough deal to do. You're so out of your element that it throws you out of whack. So some of the tricks that I've learned, and I'm not going to tell some of you something that's not necessarily something that you already do, but when I book any trip that I go on, no matter what it is, the first thing that I do is I find out if there's a gym in the area, and not just any gym. It's make sure that it's a gym that fits your needs, because there's a lot of different variations of gyms out there. Obviously, there's health clubs, which are their weight room for me. I'm telling you, I'm a bodybuilder. I need a gym that has a fair amount of hardcore type of weight, free weight, and the stuff that's not necessarily in a health club. So the reason why I'm telling you this is to make sure that you pick a gym that fits your needs. It's cool now because with social media, you can peek into they have all these photos, and that's what I did. And I checked it out, and I ended up going to a place that's called Fuel Fitness in Bozeman, Montana. So I always make sure that I have a gym that's going to fit my needs. And I mean, not only weight-wise, having the right kind of equipment, is hours. There's a couple of gyms in Bozeman that were open at 5:30. That's not good enough for me. I like to get going sooner than that. Turns out this place. So the point is, make sure that wherever you go, and again, it just might not happen because maybe the hours in that area are just not so. Obviously, you have to learn how to adapt, but preferably you set up a situation to where you fly in, you go in a new environment. You know, there's an hour or two or hour difference. I mean, that makes a difference when you're so regimented like I am. But ideally, you want to keep your program that you're doing, whether you're at home or on the road, the same. And that's very difficult to do. So you get as close as you can. I find a gym that meets my needs. That takes care of that. Okay. And as far as your nutrition, that's another tricky thing. Look, obviously when you go on a vacation, you want to splurge a little bit. You're on vacation. I understand that. And I do. I take advantage of that. But at the same time, I make sure that I stay as close as I can to my normal way of eating. You see, the way that I've got my nutrition set up is that Monday through Friday, my calories are lower. And then on the weekend, I splurge. That's always the way that I've constructed my diet. So for me, that helps me stay on my program even when I'm out vacationing. That's a benefit, you know? So think about that. And the other thing that I've talked about before is when I went to Italy. And obviously, when I went to Italy, I wanted to make sure that, you know, Italy is known for their food. I didn't want to go however many thousands of miles to Italy and not enjoy that. And one of the things that I did is I call it banking calories. So what I did is a little bit of math. Maybe this is a tip for you. And you can use it at any time, even when you're just going to local events, you're going to have a party you're going to go to. I just decided, okay, here's how many calories I want to eat when I'm in Italy. And I picked the number that I wanted. I normally eat during the week, for example, about 3,000 calories a day. So what I did, because I wanted to make sure that I was fully going to enjoy Italy, I wanted to eat 6,000 calories a day while I was there. I was there for, I don't know how long, maybe 5 days or so, whatever it was. So I just did the math. And I said, if I'm going to eat, you know, an extra 3,000 calories a day, well, then I just do the multiplication, and there's X amount of calories that I will need to make up for. And the mistake that most people make is they go on a vacation and then they fool themselves and say, when I get back, then I'll make up for it. Most of the time, that ain't going to happen. So my suggestion is be proactive. So I did it. I figured, okay, this is how many calories now, extra calories I have to burn before I leave for Italy. I call that banking calories. So what I did is I started storing up my calories by doing more cardio before I left. Consequently, what happened when I went to Italy, I dropped, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 pounds before I ever went to Italy. Guess what that did? That bought me, I had a buffer. And the long and short of that story is I really enjoyed Italy. And I was still able to maintain when I came back, believe it or not, I was the very same weight that I was when I left to go to Italy. And that's how exact you can get when it comes to, you know, this is how obsession can create mastery. You get to the point where, you know, I know how many calories it takes exactly for myself to put on weight and to lose weight, and even to the point where I can be ready, like what we are in bodybuilding, we are ready for an exact time of a show. That's how dialed in somebody like myself, bodybuilders like myself are. We're dialed in to the point where we can produce, you know, a result pretty much at will. Now, I'm not expecting that for you to happen, but you know, you want to try to get to that point. Now, I'm just giving you tips that you could use. Anyway, so you can bank calories. If you know you're going to go out, do that. Make sure that when you're traveling, make sure there's a gym around. I also check out restaurants. And I talked about this on one of my posts just the other day. There's a lot of ways that you can eat on the road and still be healthy. And places like, for example, I eat a lot at Chipotle. and I eat a lot of times that Asian food. Okay. So what I do is to make things simple. It's hard if you're not in the game all the time. It's hard for you, the average person, to know the calorie count of everything. Now, at restaurants, obviously they've made it a lot easier for you because they post how many calories is in a particular, maybe a dish that you're going to get or a food. But when you start combining foods, that's where it gets kind of tricky. So one of the things that I learned over the years was I started combining foods. And again, I did a little homework on the front end of this thing, but I can help you. I can help smooth things out for you with the approach that I'm going to tell you. So what I would start doing is I would start giving foods a value. And I would try to, when foods had the same caloric value as far as per ounce, like for example, chicken and rice, they both have 40 calories per ounce. So what I did when I was competing back in those days and traveling is I already knew foods that were common as far as calories per ounce, and so that I didn't have to count like each one. I just put those all combined foods that have the same caloric content, caloric value per ounce, and that eliminates you having to do so much thinking. And that's the reason why. Yesterday I shot a video at Chipotle, and I was telling him what I've done, and I go to restaurants the first time I'm eating, especially when I'm on a certain amount of calories, and I think that we all, in my opinion, it's all about calories in and calories out. It's going to be really important if you want to have the ongoing positive results with nutrition. You must know how many calories you're taking in. And the closer that you know how many calories, the more successful you're going to be, no matter what anybody tells you. So one of the things that I do is I go into a place like Chipotle. I don't eat there first. I get food to go. And this may sound obsessive. This was my point before. I get what I want to eat. For example, whatever it is, I take it home. If I've gotten chicken and rice in one bowl, I take it home. And I break it down. I separate the chicken. I separate the rice because now I want to see how many calories is in that particular bowl that I would like to eat ongoing based on what my caloric intake is. Again, there's some work on the front end of this thing, but look, if you think you're not going to have to do a little work on the front end, then you're going to be successful, but you won't have long-term success. So I do that, and once I know that, then I know every time I go to Chipotle, I don't have to think about that. How many calories is in that bowl? I already know, like I did yesterday. I know that I get 1 scoop of white rice, 2 scoops of chicken, 1 scoop of pico de gallo, and I give that a value of 900 calories. I always cheat up. I make it more than it really is. That bowl is probably 760 calories. To be more exact, but I give it 900 calories. I build in my buffer because I am on a program right now of dropping weight. So I cheat that way. I make it a little bit more. That way I know that I'm not ever overeating. Does that make sense? And then conversely, if I'm on a program where I'm putting on weight, because in order to put on weight, the right kind of weight, whether it be muscle or losing fat, you want to either eat up 500 to 700 calories or eat down 500 to 700 calories. If you're wanting to lose weight and the right kind of weight, which should be fat loss, you keep it 500 to 700 calories where based on what you're normally taking in to maintain your body weight. So I'm always, if I was putting on weight and I wanted to put on muscle in this very scenario, then what I would do is I would eat up an extra just to make sure that I'm getting enough caloric intake to support muscle gain. Does that make sense? These are some of the tricks and things that we do in our industry to make our daily habits seamless. Instead of constantly, you can see how it would be. Look, I understand it. It would be very difficult to do this because it's hard enough to do stuff like this. If there's any way that you can tailor this down and make it more simple, and that's what I'm telling you, is to make this nutrition, because nutrition of the 3 components is the hardest to keep on track with. Okay, that's a tip for nutrition. Now, what I want to talk is the other day I was I don't know, I was on Instagram or something, and I ran across a trainer, and I got to tell you something. I got real bothered with this. I ran across a trainer who's, I'm not going to give out names because I just don't want to. He'd be embarrassed, and I don't want to call him out. It's just what I'm trying to make is a point here, and for trainers. This trainer was training somebody at a very famous place, and the trainer had his hands in his pockets, while his client was doing an exercise. And I tell you something, when I saw that, I just about lost my shit on the spot. And why do I get so upset with that? If that's what they want to do, why should I get so upset? Well, I still care about that stuff. It bothers me. And trainers wonder why the hell they can't make a living at personal training or being a trainer. They do some stupid shit. I got to tell you, that is okay, think about this. If you're a client and your trainer has his hands in his pockets or has his hands crossed, what kind of message are they sending to you? Look, the mark of a good trainer is that they are 100% part of your program while they're training you. They need to be in it just like you are. Look, as a trainer, when I was going through this, I expect my client to be all in with intention. That's what I expect. But they should expect the same thing from me because I'm going to hold myself accountable to that. I'm going to be all in. Your results and your program means as much to me as it does to you. That's how far in I am to your program. So when I see a trainer who is with his hands in their pockets, not looking like they're interested at all, and the client is doing the exercise, they're not pushing them. What the hell? As a client, why the hell are you paying someone like that? And as a trainer, shame on you. You should know better than that. And yet what I've noticed over the years is that sometimes when trainers they get into this routine, they are mailing it in. They get in that bad habit of mailing it. They forget that you should be, as a trainer with that client, every time they come in, you're in it to win it with them. So people, trainers, pull your heads out of your asses and your hands out of your pockets. All right. Well, listen, that's about enough for me today. I've ranted enough. Hopefully you've gotten some pretty good information. If you would like to reach out to me on my Instagram and give me some ideas and things that you want to talk about, let's go for it. Otherwise, thanks for tuning in. Can't wait to see you at another episode of Straight Talk.